In the shadows of ancient history lies the story of a woman most have forgotten. Tamar, a woman betrayed, disguised, and condemned to the pyre. Yet through her, a line of kings, and even the Messiah, would be born. Her name has been whispered in the margins for millennia, but her story is one of profound courage, desperate faith, and a divine plan that turns tragedy into triumph. This is the story of Tamar, the forgotten matriarch whose legacy shaped the very destiny of a nation. Tamar was married into the powerful family of Judah, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. Her future seemed bright, her position secure. But her husband, was a wicked man in the sight of the Lord, and his life was cut short by divine judgment. According to Levirate law, it was the sacred duty of Judah's family to provide Tamar with another husband to continue the family line and secure her future. The law was clear, the obligation sacred. Judah, with a grave nod, seemed to agree. Tamar, now a young widow, placed her trust in the customs of her people and the promises of her father-in-law. Judah then gave Tamar to his second son, Onan. But Onan was driven by selfishness. He knew that any child born to Tamar would not be considered his own heir, but rather his deceased brother's. So, he deceitfully avoided his responsibility, callously denying Tamar the child she was entitled to. For this act of defiance against both law and family, he too fell under God's judgment and died. Now Tamar was a widow for a second time. Twice promised a future, twice left in the dust of grief and uncertainty. The whispers in the village would have been cruel, the stares heavy with suspicion. She was alone, a woman marked by tragedy. Judah had one son left, Shelah. He promised Tamar, "Wait until my son Shelah grows up." It was a promise of hope, a lifeline in her sea of despair. So Tamar waited. She returned to her father's house, her widow's garments a constant reminder of her status. Days turned into months, and months into years. She watched from a distance as Shelah grew from a boy into a man, but the summons from Judah never came. He feared that Shelah too would die like his brothers. Judah's fear broke his promise. Tamar was abandoned, left in a state of public shame, a widow with no children, no inheritance, and no future. She had been utterly cast aside. Betrayed, desperate, and forgotten by the very man who was meant to protect her, Tamar realized that if justice was to be done, she would have to claim it herself. She devised a daring and dangerous plan. Hearing that Judah would be traveling to Timnah for the sheep shearing, a time of festivity, she shed her widow's clothes. She disguised herself, covering her face with a veil, and sat by the entrance to a town on the road Judah would travel. In that moment, she was no longer Tamar the widow, but a mysterious, veiled figure waiting by the roadside, risking everything for a chance to reclaim the future that had been stolen from her. As Judah traveled down the road, he saw the veiled woman. He didn't recognize his own daughter-in-law. He saw only a prostitute. He approached her, unaware that he was walking into a trap set by his own broken promises. He propositioned her, and she asked what he would give her. "I'll send you a young goat from my flock," he promised. But Tamar was thinking steps ahead. "And what will you give me as a pledge until you send it?" she asked. Judah, blinded by his desires, offered his most personal and valuable possessions, his signet seal, the cord it hung on, and the staff he carried in his hand. They were the ancient equivalent of his signature, his identity. He handed them over, sealing not just a transaction, but his own eventual judgment. 3 months later, news reached Judah. "Your daughter-in-law Tamar is pregnant. She has been unfaithful." The community was in an uproar. The hypocrisy was staggering. Judah, the man who had denied her a legitimate heir, was filled with public rage. He pronounced a swift and brutal sentence without a trial. "Bring her out and let her be burned." It was the harshest punishment possible. As the guards came for her, Tamar did not protest or beg. She stood before Judah and the assembled crowd, calm and resolute. She held up the items she had secured. Then she sent a message directly to Judah. "I am pregnant by the man who owns these. Please identify them. To whom do this seal, this cord, and this staff belong?" A hush fell over the crowd. The color drained from Judah's face as he stared at the undeniable proof of his own actions. The symbols of his authority were now the instruments of his exposure. The whispers turned from Tamar to him. The full weight of his failure, his broken promises, his neglect, his hypocrisy, crashed down upon him in that single silent moment. The truth was laid bare for all to see. He had condemned the very woman he had wronged, and now he had to face the consequences. With the eyes of the entire community upon him, Judah spoke the words that would change everything. He lowered his head in shame and declared, "She is more righteous than I." He publicly confessed his fault, admitting that his failure to give her to his son Shelah had driven her to this desperate act. In that moment, Tamar was vindicated. Her name was cleared, her honor restored. She had used her cunning not for revenge, but to secure the justice and the lineage that was rightfully hers. She had risked death to expose the truth, and the truth had set her free. Tamar went on to give birth to twin boys, Perez and Zerah, and it was from the line of Perez, the child of her audacity and faith, that an extraordinary legacy would unfold. Generations later, this lineage would include King David, the greatest king of Israel, and centuries after that, in the small town of Bethlehem, a Savior would be born, Jesus, the Messiah. From the ashes of betrayal, shame, and desperation, God wove a story of redemption. Tamar's story reminds us that even when we feel forgotten and our circumstances seem hopeless, a divine plan is at work, capable of bringing forth an incredible destiny. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories from history. We'll see you next time.